Hey, so I'm going to do a glue up and actually talk through the process. So probably on the thumbnail it'd be called how to glue up a skateboard deck. It's not necessarily the 100% most official way, it's the way I do it. So take that with a pinch of salt, but I've done a few so I think I know what I'm doing. Type Bond 2. Now to control, you can take the lid off and you can pour and you've got no control over the flow whatsoever. So what I do is to get an old lid and drill a 5mm hole through the top, and that way when I'm pouring I've got complete control how much comes out. By doing that I reckon I save about 2 decks worth of glue per 4-litre pot that I use, which at 40 quid, I don't know what that is in America, is probably considerably cheaper. You know, that's about £8 saved, so yeah, it's worth doing. Also, I've got a plastic bag which I keep my roller in, a little bit gummed up. You keep the thing wet, that way whenever you use it you're not recharging. Oh my god, it's a bit gooed up, it's been a week since I did one. Because it's staying in a damp, gluey environment. I need to change the bag. Okay. You're not re-wetting the roller every time that you do a new glue up, which again wastes loads of glue because you need to get the thing, the first couple of goes over will be sort of kind of not damp enough. So this way you're ready to go straight from day one. Now I press, on average at least a board a week, so it's worth doing that if you're only doing it just once in a while. Yeah. And also a couple of tips on this: don't buy a cheap one that's foam, because the foam will fall apart and go into your glue. Get one that's sort of £10, reasonably decent, furry one. Even if you're only pressing one, you're doing it once in a while, and use a bit. I use the larger one purely on the grounds you cover more space quickly. You see a lot of people using the ones that are about so wide, 6 inches wide, 15 centimeters, and it's great, but go big or go home, and change your bag once in a while. The other thing I do, which might be slightly different to what most people do, is you usually see people that you do it in the sequence of the deck, the deck being pressed. So you've got the two on the outside, one cross, sorry I say 2 on the outside, 2 long on the outside, 1 cross, middle, cross, 2 on the other outside. I work inside out. The reason I do that is I tend to be quite messy when it comes to the face veneers. So you end up with splotches of glue which you then got to sand off, and it's a bit harder to do. So by doing it inside out just seems to be that much cleaner. Personal preference, but it works for me, so I'm going to stick with it. So in this case I've got cross, centre, cross, long, and then the outside face plies. And I also, the nicest one I want to be on the bottom, so if you can see that on pencil mark there, I've got a B on there, and then I've got the T on the top of the face that I want to be spacing up. That's the nice of the 2 sides. Yeah, it's cool. Ready to glue. So with Type Bond you've got about a 15-minute open time to get the thing in before it starts sort of going off and congealing. So I'm going to do this quite quick. There's going to be more you watching me doing it than me talking, because there's only so much you can talk about splurges. Cool, let's rock. So, change my lid. Now, I don't even notice in the background, I've also got a table at the back, so I'm going to be going between the 2 tables doing my layup. I'm going to keep the lid over there. Gummy. Oh, get on there. Get some hard glue. Remember kids, be prepared before you video shit. There we go. The last thing you want is the lid falling off and you get massive splurges of glue everywhere. Okay, roller's ready. I've got it on a little sheet of plastic just so it doesn't glue itself to the table. Cool, rock and roll. So I'm going to do a bead, probably about a quarter of less than 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch. You can see I'm doing about 5 stripes there. I'm going to roll with the grain. To the light, I'm going to do a quick over just to get it going. Whoopsie daisy. Try not to break the thing. So we've got a general coverage, and then I'm just going to go with the grain to make sure that I'm getting everything seeped in quite nicely. Because, alright, you can see that? That's a nice kind of gleaming shine on there. Not too thick. Then same on the next one, I'm going to use a fraction less glue. I'm going to do 4 rather than 5. So there we go, a little tiny splotch left over. And this one, obviously, I'm going to go with the grain. And then we're going to glue to glue. Turn it around a little bit just to make sure it's in all the little nooks and crannies. This one's very slightly lumpy, I think you can see, which will then press out quite nicely once we're in the thing. Then I'm going to go glue to glue, so that's going upside down. That's then going on the previous one. Then repeat. So 4, 5. So the bead on that is probably the, like if you're doing toothpaste, fractionally thicker than if you were doing squirting out toothpaste. So it's in millimetres, I'd say about 4 mil. An inch is just over an 8, somewhere between an 8 and a 1/4. Right, done that with. Just want to make sure it's getting in all the little grainy bits, because penetration with the glue is key. Right up to the edges. Then we're going to swap that over, bring the other one back. So I've got the glued underneath, and then 4 on here. Now I'm doing the one slightly less glue on the smooth one, because it will cover just that little bit easier. The crosses have a tendency to be a little bit more absorbent. So you want a little bit more glue in there. And what you don't want is too much glue. Because when you see people pressing and it's all squirting out the side, that's money going down the drain. So you want to get the optimum amount on there. So you can get away on the smooth with one doing a 5 lines, one doing a 3. That'll glue up perfectly well. I'm doing very slightly more, just because there's a slight unevenness within the plies, so I just want to make sure I've got complete contact on there. Okay, 5. Whee! And that's slightly longer, so I'm just chopping that out because we want it to be all the same length. Now this particular veneers are 11 by 37. So from my mould I can get forward up to about 34 inches, 34 and a half maybe, and I just about squeeze up to about a 16 inch wheelbase, about 15 is optimum. I went out of sequence there, didn't I? Yeah, okay, so I've done the long rather than the cross. Do as I say, not as I do. So because I did that one slightly more glue on the long, I'm going to do 4 and a little fraction on the cross. Put something going now, that's because I'm talking. Okay, so that's juicy enough, that's fine. Now you can see there's a knot on this one. if you had a knot on both your middle, obviously your knots go in the middle. If you had that on two, you kind of don't want the same knot in the same place. It'd be one over there, just one at the end. Don't worry about them, they don't really affect the structural strength that much. And 9 times out of 10 when you're buying veneers, unless you're a big league and you can actually buy 10,000 and pick, you're going to end up with some kind of imperfections on the middle ones. Right, back on track. Okay. Nicely juiced up, so we're into, what have we got to, 4 there, kind of on the home straight. So 1, 2, 3. Once this goes in the mould, it's going to go in there for 24 hours straight. So it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday now, so it won't come out until tomorrow around the same time. And then it's going to be cured. Right, this is the top one. It's going to be cured then for at least a week after that before it gets chopped. And the reason you want it to do that is like basically the glue obviously starts off as a liquid, goes harder and harder. The longer you cure the better. And when you're curing you want to make sure the board is as flat as possible so there's no potential for it to like bend out and warp. So if I haven't got a large amount of boards on the go, which at the moment unfortunately is quite quiet, so this one I probably won't even take out the mould, I'll just leave it in the mould for a week. So that way it's completely clamped as straight as it can possibly be. And then even once it's been cured, I can't show you now without moving the camera, I want to get this done quick, but I've got a frame that I keep them on which keeps them flat, so that'll be clamped into a frame which will keep it in a flat position until we're cutting. Okay, nearly there. So all of them had an even coating. Every single section gets an even amount of glue. That one's peeling up a little bit, that's not an issue. Period, it's a little bit damp on the underside. The good news on that, because that's the one that's going to be on the top, it's actually bending in the shape of the concave, but that's purely, it's got no effect on it whatsoever. Okay, glue's done. Number one priority, get that thing back in a bag. I'm going to change that bag out. I'm going to turn it inside out, I'm going to get glue all over the floor. That's now going in the bag, and I'm going to put a tiny little splosh. Can't see this on camera, but I'm putting a little splash of glue in there with it, just to keep it juicy. And then seal it up. Roll it round. I'm going to put that in another bag after I finish doing this, just to keep it in so it's in its own little environment and it won't dry out. around there. And I must remember afterwards to put the sealed lid back on the glue. I'm going to do this bit first because it slows me down very slightly when I'm talking. Then last but not least, I'm just going to glue, sorry, not glue, but tape up the ends just where the, just to keep all the pack of all the veneers together while it goes into there. I'm only going to do a little bit of tape. I used to tape it all the way across and all the way round. Don't do that anymore. The reason being, when you press, now you can use parts of tape for this. I tend to use gaffer, just because it really sticks nicely, obviously. So they're all in line with each other. Now, when you press, the gaffer tape will really stick if you do it all the way across. So I'm doing it in the corners, so where you kind of like your nose and your tail are going to get chopped out. So it'll only be on the offcuts. That'll be reasonably central because obviously you're going to cut the board out the middle. So because it's an 11-inch wide, you can easily get a 10.5 board out of it. If you're reasonably good at woodwork, you could probably chop out. And I glue, yeah, it's good. I'm glued solid all the way to the edges on these, so you can squeeze a 10.75 if you're good at woodwork. Okay, that's that. Okay, so this is now going into the press. Now this applies obviously to my way of doing this again because I've got these weird laminated moulds. But the principle's the same no matter what. Okay, now you want to make sure the thing is completely central, so I'm going to be moving this around quite a bit and getting in the way. Okay, that's looking pretty straight. I'm shoving it as far forward as I possibly can. Right, we're good. First up, I'm just going to clamp it down a little bit just to get it down roughly into position. Purely because I can't hold the thing down and clamp at the same time. So I've got a mixture here. I'm doing some of it with G-clamps and some of it pneumatic. Being that little devil there. And then another little bit of it is done with what are they called? Scaffolding. Scaffolding jacks, sorry, concentrating, trying to. So that's now nice and solidly locked centrally, and then we're just working out from there. And I'm going to do the scaffolding jacks going just into the corner of the pocket. So where I've got this piece of ply which is going to go against it, that's just fractionally, if you can see that, that's just fractionally into the curve to get as much pressure down into that curve as possible. And let's reset that, there we go. That's easier done without, whoops. There's very much a hybrid way of doing this. There's a few reasons behind that. One, I'm pressing at slightly less pressure than you're going to get if you're doing it commercially. I believe in my conversations with my friend Matty at Big Eye, he presses at about 10 kilos. If I did this on this, it would explode. and he does it with, you know, massive great versions of the bottle jacks, which I think 20 tons that he uses, but he's pressing like three or four boards at a time. I need just enough to get that solidly clamped. That's more than enough pressure that I need. It's just a case of getting that glue really nicely solidly in there. So if you've ever done clamping with glue with, you know, just normal clamps, I don't know what pressure they're actually exerting, but so any scratching noise in the background is my crazy cat trying to take the building to bits. That's pretty solid. So then I'm going to do hips, and then I'm going to do the pockets after there, and then down the sides. Fine, last one will be down the sides. Oops, sorry, that goes upside down. The reason I'm doing it upside down is I want space to be able to do the final tighten up the top. I need to move this out of the way, excuse me. Just make it a bit less likely that I'm going to bang my head. Okay, and side to side, going. Central. Okay, same trick on the other side. Let's go middle first this time. You certainly get sweaty doing this, especially today. It's like pretty sticky. Another long one. So I'm using for the centre ones on here. These ones are long reach, so we can get them bang right in the middle. 2/3 of the way in, so it's Then you notice I've got bolts through the ends here. Now the reason for the bolts are to keep the thing aligned. So you want the top and the bottom of the mould to be perfectly sort of registered, so as you get an even press. So that's the reasoning behind that. I'm going to finish that one at the end. Okay, and then I just want to get clamps in there, both sides, just to make sure the edges are all solid. Now these moulds have a little tiny bit of give in them, but not very much. So it's basically, you know, the thickness of that is spreading out that into the pressure. So although there's a gap there and there's gaps there, the sum of the whole is making sure that that deck is completely and tightly glued. I ran out of thread, so I'm just going to loosen it back down a bit, so I've got a little bit more to play with. Bingo. And one central. One more central. Make sure the tail is completely, so that's the nose end I'm doing now, but same both ways. Sorry about all the huffing and puffing, which there is much. Let's just do around the back. And then finally, I'm just going to do a little double check one. Give that an extra little push. And then the same trick with the jacks. So that one has actually loosened up quite a lot, so I'm just going to take this one off. See, that's how much pressure we're getting from everything else, so that's a good thing. I can work around everything, get some access in there. Okay, we'll do that one. Just take that one out for a second. That shows just how much we've tightened down, because that was absolutely solid before I started doing the clamps, which is a testament of how much pressure you get when the clamps going. This one might be a little bit tighter. Yeah, that one's pretty good. That's as good as we're going to get on that. Okay, zoom in and assume we're looking at that. Oops. See, I've got a little bit of squish coming out the side. Not wasting glue by having tons of it coming out and then sticking it to the mould. We want just enough that we're sealing up all the edges just to make sure that it's going all the way through nicely, which seems to be happening, so I'm happy with this one. I mean, you can keep fiddling. I'd stand there all day trying to tighten if I could, but you know, just make sure it's tight. That's all we need. We are well and truly done. Cool. Thank you very much for watching. It was emotional. So yeah, that's how I press a board on my somewhat lo-fi press monster. So cool, thanks very much. Like and subscribe and all that kind of YouTube crap. I'd love to say this episode was sponsored by Skateboard, but unfortunately it's not. Okay, there's the boss. Hello, the monster. How are you? Oh, there's my rack, by the way, with the boards flattening out. Not flattening out, just staying flat. So yeah, which is made from an old electronic drum kit risers. Cool. Okay, cheers, thank you very much, bye bye.